James Helder, welcome to Full Core Football 24. We're in Carshalton Athletic today. With me, I've got another than former Millwall, Sheffield United and Southend star Mark Beard. Great to see you, Mark. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks, James. You?
Yeah, very good. It's been a little while since we've caught up. We've seen you progressing into the coaching and managing aspect as well. I want to touch on that, but before then, I'd like to start right back at the start of your career and the early days of making that transition into being a footballer.
Yeah, well, it started for me at the age of 6, really. I was with Wimbledon, got picked up when I was playing for Sutton Wanderers, a local club here to Carshalton. And I was there from 6 to about 14 years old. And then Millwall come in for me. I never really looked back after that. I mean, I signed for Millwall as a schoolboy, 14 to 16. Was offered a scholarship from 16 to 18 and just progressed all the way through. With the youth team at Millwall, we had an unbelievable team, winning the FA Youth Cup, second in the league, winning the Southern Junior Floodlit Cup. About 6-7 of us progressed into the first team as well. So like myself, Ben Thatcher, Mark Kennedy, Andy Roberts, we had a really good team. So great times there. Then got offered a pro, spent another 3 seasons at Millwall playing 56 games. Probably the best times of my career because there's a team I supported, team I loved, playing in front of my friends and family week in, week out, being a local South London boy as well, like stuff of dreams.
What was it like when you got the initial phone call that you were going to get a chance to make your professional debut for Millwall?
It's a bit surreal really because on the Tuesday we had a reserve game and I knew there's been a couple of injuries in the first team, but I was only 18 years old and just never expected it. Mick McCarthy called me in on a Thursday morning and said before training, I'm going to play right back Saturday. And straight away, it weren't one of fear, it was one of, I was just buzzing. I couldn't wait to get home, tell my dad, my mum, and tell all my family. I think I got about 67 tickets for that game. It was against Watford, and at the time, Millwall was in a bad run. We were second bottom. We weren't playing well. We actually won the game 4-1, so I got man of the match. I just remember getting a 9 in the Sun and the next day in the paper as well. So it was a great debut, and as I say, one that I had no fear. I went out and just wanted to play. It's all I ever wanted to do. So to play in front of 13,000 at the Den was like an amazing feeling.
What was Millwall like at that period? What was the club like, and what was the whole atmosphere around the club?
Well, it's the first season at the new Den, so there was a buzz about the place. We had 2 seasons before been relegated from the old First Division, which was the Premier League now. So we had some really good players, and it was a great club to come into because there was a lot of good young players coming through, like your Ben Thatchers and Mark Kennedys, and we was all Millwall fans, and it was a real good time. The only regret for me and probably for a lot of fans that they sold a lot of their youngsters young. Ben Thatcher went after 2 years, Mark Kennedy went after about 6 months, I went after 2 years. So if we'd have kept them all together, because we had beat everyone in the country as a team, as a youth team. We beat Man United, the Fergie Babes, Tottenham's, the Arsenals. We was the top dogs at the time, and they kept their squads together and we didn't. And I think that if Mick McCarthy would have maybe been a bit more patient with it, realised that United sent a lot out on loan. Beckham probably didn't make his debut till he's 20 or 21 for Man United, and whereas we all jumped in at 18 and then we were sold. So it would have been nice if we would have been together another couple of years and really seen what we could have done.
Come on to your time at Sheffield United. I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions on Mick McCarthy for the time you worked under him. What was he like tactically as a manager? Was he someone that you relished working under?
Yeah, Mick was brilliant, and because I played with him, he was a player obviously at Millwall before he got the job. So, and I think it was hard for him because he's 36, 37, and the fact that he had to go straight from being a player, being your mate one day, to being a manager, I think he did it really well. But he's a winner. He's great to play for because he used to demand the best out of you every day, and that was in training. If you weren't kicking lumps out of each other, then he weren't happy. So, but he was a winner, as I say, and tactically, I think he that grows on you as you go along as a manager. You have ideas, obviously, but to be fair, he did well his first season. Second season, he had a bit more money, spent a lot of money, and as I say, got rid of a lot of the homegrown talent, and they got relegated that season. So it went against him, but he also then took the job with Ireland, didn't he? So, but I've met him recently, and he's just a great guy. He's a great manager. Old school in the fact that he's with his demands and what he wants from you, but you won't want to play for anyone better.
when the phone rings as a player, opportunity comes, and sometimes you will have to move away against your wishes. Was it a hard decision for you to leave Millwall and move to Sheffield United at that time?
Yeah, it was tough because, again, being a Millwall fan and coming from the area, all my family being Millwall, it was a tough decision. But what really made it up for me was Mick McCarthy rang me first of all and said, Sheffield United come in for you. And Sheffield United are a massive club, and they just got relegated from the Premier League. And the season before, I played against them and scored against them at Bramall Lane, and then I won man of the match at the Den. So the 2 times I've actually played against them, I've done really well. But when Mick said that he'd accepted the offer, that was like a knife for the heart. It really gutted me because I never thought he would accept an offer, no matter what it was. But he's saying that he'd got in Mickey Bennett, who I feel I was better than at the time. But he's going to bring in another right back, Gerald Lavin from Watford. And so as soon as he said that, I thought, right, I'll go up and talk. And even on the way up, I was still thinking, I ain't going to sign, just go up and talk. But I was blown away by the size of the club. I didn't realise, coming from the south, how big Sheffield United was and the history it had and the fan base. And no disrespect to me, I think it is a bigger club, and it is with the fan base. And like, I think the first person that met me is Tony Curry, who was like a Sheffield United legend. And there was a lot of Londoners up there as well. Harry Bassett was manager, so he had a lot of these old Wimbledon teams. So they made me feel welcome straight away. And against what I was thinking on the way up, I signed like literally within 2 minutes of being up there because I was blown away by it all. But massively gutting to leave Millwall also.
So you agreed to join Sheffield United with what looked to be a whole new chapter in your career, going up that into there with full of optimism. Talk me through sort of the initial period at Sheffield United.
The first month is the same as anything. You go there, it's a bit of a buzz. I was in a bit of a bad situation when I went there. There's 5 games in, and I don't think they had won. So we drew our debut with Tranmere, then we lost to Crystal Palace 3-2 in my home debut. So the results weren't going great. But for the first month, I was putting in good performances. One thing they didn't really do, which I think they do a lot more now, you take care of your players. When I went up there, they didn't. I was only 20, signed for good money, and didn't place me in a house, didn't tell me where to move. They literally just stuck me in a hotel. So I was getting free food, and after about 3 months of being in the hotel, it just drives you up the wall. So I ended up with no advice. Went out and bought my own first house, 20 years old. And it's a great life experience, and it's one of them where you sink or swim. And I've quite a strong-willed character. Worked hard. There was times when I wanted to come back down south. There was times when I was commuting from London because I missed the family. But football being football, you just got to roll your sleeves up, dig in. Otherwise, football, you could soon forget about it and you could soon get released. And then all of a sudden you're playing non-league. So I realised what I had to do, and they're the sacrifices you have to make.
How would you summarise your time playing for Sheffield United? Was it a period that you relish looking back on now?
We had some great times, played with some great players. Played with Paul McGrath, Ian Rush, Dean Saunders, Don Hutchison. Had some great managers. Dave Bassett, obviously, Siamese. And then we had Howard Kendall, who's just probably the best manager I've ever worked with. Unbelievable, great manager. Then we had Nigel Spackman, Steve Thompson, who had some real good managers and real good players, as I say. We got to an FA Cup semi-final. We got to a playoff final at the old Wembley. And both years we was close to going up to the Premier League. We just fell short. But in terms of playing, the first 3 months I played every game. Howard Kendall come in, didn't play for 6 months. So I was stuck in the reserves. And I spoke to him later on, at a later time when I'd left the club, and he said, like, when I come in, we was told that you're not for us. But he said the way you worked and the way you trained every day, he played me in about 36 different positions in the reserves, and I never grumbled. I just got on with it. And in the end, he liked me and started putting me back in the team. And as I say, it's a real successful team where we was literally winning every game, and it's a great place to be.
Was it a tough decision for you when you got the opportunity to come back down south, so to speak, to get a chance to play your trade down in Essex? Was that something that you was initially warm to, or did you think you still had more to prove an offer at Sheffield United?
To be fair, in March I got offered to go to Notts County, and Sam Allardyce was manager at the time, and they was in League 2, and they'd already won the league when they come in for me. So I've known I could have gone there. It was a good deal. Sam Allardyce spoke great, and at the time he was an up-and-coming manager himself. But even though I agreed to sign, I think I'd literally done all the paperwork. I slept on it that night, and then I rang him up in the morning and said I'm not going to come. And the reason was my kids were literally about to be born. I had twins. And when you're away from family, like bringing up one kid is hard anyway, to bring up two. So my wife really wanted to come back home. So not that she'd have minded if I'd have signed for Notts County, we would have got on with it, but I just felt like it wouldn't have been a great move. So I let my contract see itself out at Sheffield United, and then it was a bit of a risk really, and just see what happened. But then in the summer, Southend United come in for me, and Alvin Martin, like a former West Ham legend, and went down and spoke to him, liked his plans, and I signed for them.
Seems like a real start of a real love affair between yourself and Southend, a club that you've had a big affiliation with, and a period of your life that you really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's a great club, and the unfortunate thing, the 5 years I had there, we wasn't really that successful. I mean, most clubs I've been at, we've either been challenging for playoffs or had really good cup runs, and with Southend that never really materialised. But again, played with some great players, and the fans were brilliant to me, and I just love playing there. I'm thinking my first season won Player of the Year. The second year I got second in Player of the Year, become captain at some point as well. So over the two spells I had there, I did love my time there.
You've had the pleasure of playing with some great players. Who would you say was the most technically gifted player that you played with yourself?
The probably most technical. Mark Kennedy as a 17-year-old was unbelievable. He was the best left foot I've seen. And he was actually a centre forward. He come over from Ireland to MILLWALL as a centre forward. And I think Mick McCarthy, when he chucked him in at 17, thought he may be a little bit too small, a bit lightweight. So he moved him left wing and never looked back really. But I felt he could have been a really good centre forward as well. But I don't think any of the clubs he played at he ever played there. So he broke Teddy Sheringham's record in the youth team, broke all league records. But never really got the opportunity. So he was decent. I think the best player I played with was Paul McGrath. He was for 11 games at Sheffield United, and he was just unbelievable. It was the end of his career. And I think he retired after Sheffield United. He never trained all week. He just literally used to come in on a Friday, do a 20-minute bike ride, and then go home. Even when we went on tour to Norway pre-season, he stayed in a different hotel to us. He had someone look after him 24/7. So he'd obviously had his addictions and being around players, and if you're going out on nights out, he just couldn't do it. So he's a proper character, really quiet, but probably one of the best players I've played with.
So he would literally have someone chaperoning him and keeping him away from sort of the rest of the team, and then just have him on match days.
Yeah, we just stayed with him. No one knew his name or anything. Even for meals, he used to come with us for meals, and then it just disappears. Just like really weird. But he just didn't mind, because every week he turned up, and he's just the best player. Read everything brilliantly. His knees were shot to bits, but he's just unbelievable. And I love to see him before his knee injuries in his prime.
You can only imagine what type of player he was in his early career, sort of playing for Man United and that.
And my dad was a Cockney Red, so I did see a lot of them playing. So then when you go to Sheffield United, and they got players like Fjortoft, who was a Norwegian like legend, Ian Rush coming in from Liverpool, Dean Saunders coming from Liverpool. So players I watched growing up as a kid, match of the day, and now like training alongside them every day is a bit surreal.
How good was Ian Rush, even at that stage in his career? How good of a finisher was he?
He was ridiculous in training, just the best finisher you see, just everything was with quality. But do you know what? I think in the 10 games he played for Sheffield United, I don't think he scored. He really struggled, and I don't know if it's because we weren't setting up enough chances for him or whatever. It's just, you find that sometimes some players don't fit to that club, and with Sheffield United, it didn't really work for him.
Like all good pros that have played at a decent level, as comes with the age, comes still the love of the game, still wanting to play, still keeping active, as well as earning a career for yourself and wages. How was it for you when you were sort of on the decline, if you like, and going down the divisions?
It's tough, but I say to our players now, I say to my son that the reason you come into football in the first place is because you love it. Now, if it's about the money, it don't normally work. You really need that hunger, that desire. So I will play a game, whether it's Premier League or whether it's in the Ryman Prem or the Sussex County League. It's about going out and enjoying it. So for me, going down the divisions wasn't a problem. Obviously, you need to make money to take care of your family as well. So as long as the money was right, I was never one of them about a pound note. I mean, my first contract assigned with Millwall was on £150 a week. And I remember I went on a run of games, 18 years old, and I think it's after the Tranmere game, I won man in a match. Mick McCarthy said, I want to see you in the office after. So I went up to the office, see him, and he goes, I'm putting your money up from 150, 2-year deal, to £300 a week. And next season 2, £350. So I went, okay, signed it straight away. He didn't say nothing. Monday morning trained, he said, I want to see you in the office again. I thought, what have I done now? So he's called me in and said, listen, no one has ever done that in my time as manager. You literally come in and signed a piece of paper without negotiating or anything. So he put my money up straight away. He said 350 first year, 400 second. So for me and for him, he just said, he'd never heard of that. I didn't have no agent. And as I say, I was just happy to sign and play and do what I've always loved doing.
Was there a point in your career where you thought, I would make a good manager? I like to coach players. I feel that I can give more back to the game than I currently can. How did that thought process work?
I was a little bit lucky because as I was at Millwall, my dad got a job there. So I was 19, 20, and he got a job as head of recruitment. So yeah, one of his things was setting up development centres. He set one up in Sheen for Millwall, and they called themselves Sheen Lions. And I started doing coaching there for him. I was only 20 years old and doing a bit of coaching, and that's where I really got my first love of coaching. I felt I was not natural at it, but it's something I enjoyed doing. So, and it also took your mind off playing, because then you started thinking about other things other than your game all the time. So, and we had some good players there, like Stephen Reid was probably the biggest one who's come out of it, who went on to be Millwall legend and played Premier League for years and years in Republic of Ireland. So, yeah, I just always loved it and just felt I had a good knack for not only just coaching my man management skills and also tactically. So it's always something I want to do. Some people it isn't for them. Some people like to go in media. Some people like to get away from football completely. But for me, it's all I know.
What was your first initial chance at coaching or at management at a higher level? How did that opportunity come about?
Probably when I was at Kingstonian, my second spell, they just asked me to do a little bit of coaching there. But my first real big coaching gig was in Spain at San Pedro. And that come about through, I took Sam to a coaching school just while he was on holiday. Just bumped into a guy called Eddie Jackson from Liverpool, who was living out there with his son. And he said there's an opportunity to set up an international academy at San Pedro in Marbella. So I went and met the president of the club on the Monday, a Scottish guy, Jules Gray, and just went from there. I was literally on holiday for 2 days, and I've ended up getting a job out there. So, which was an unbelievable experience. I had 100-odd English-speaking kids in Spain. A lot of expats go out there, obviously, with families, and they had no real place to play. So what we did, we stuck them in the Spanish Andalusian League. So he was playing teams like Malaga and Fuengirola, Estepona, and some real good teams. And it's an amazing experience running teams from under 8s up to under 16s. Set up a real good football club there.
From going out and having a holiday to then being involved in the club for 2 years, setting up, as you mentioned, a top academy out there, it must have been a real buzz for you at the time.
Yeah, it's great. And listen, anyone who's been to Marbella too, it's a great place. One of my first things I had to do when I was out there was set up a charity game. It was through a company. So they hired our club, San Pedro. So I organised the football side of it, and the other side of it, there was Earth, Wind and Fire singing in the evening. But I played in my celebrity team. There was me, Paul Gascoigne, Brian Robson, Lee Sharp in midfield. I think Luther Blissett up front. We had Jason Cundy at the back, and Oliver Skeet, the show jumper, was right back. John Leslie was in goal. So, but it was an unbelievable game. Great experience to play with Paul Gascoigne. He was, again, one of my heroes. Brian Robson was my all-time hero. So to share a picture of him was it was surreal. So that was my first job in the academy, but then to listen, bring the kids up there. They were 6, 7, 8 years old at the time. It was amazing for them. Great place to live, but also did miss the playing still, because I was only 28, and I got a call from Stevenage one day, and with Mark Stimpson in the conference, asking me to come back, and I had a chat with the family and decided to come back.
A year playing for Stevenage. How would you summarise that season?
Probably the best of my career, because the team we had was just unbelievable. Mark Stimpson was a great up-and-coming manager at the time, and when he sold it to me, he said we had some really good youngsters like coming through. George Boyd, Steve Morrison, Mitchell Cole, Adam Miller, Barry Fuller, John Nutter, Alan Julian. We had Steve Guppy, ex-Premier League star left winger, who's coming towards the end of his career. John Nurse, a local boy to around here, and we had some real good players. So I didn't need much selling. So when I come over, it was just unbelievable. Great team spirit, and that really taught me about for future my career as a manager about the togetherness and getting the right characters, and the way we played that season was unreal. We got to Wembley, played the first competitive game at Wembley in front of I think 67,000. Which was 2-0 down, and we ended up winning 3-2. So real great experience and great year. The end of that season, real gutted as well that I didn't get another contract, because we played 52 games, literally was ever present, never missed a training session. But Mark Stimpson felt I was probably getting a bit too old, so that was like, for me, that was when I decided like I don't really want to do this anymore.
Was it a tough decision for yourself to decide to retire from football, to come away initially as a player and then trying your hand at the management side?
As I say, that Stevenage thing, that was probably the biggest blow to me in football, because I've been full-time all these years. And then that season I got myself in the best physical condition of my career. I was so fit. And as I say, you don't play 52 games at that level and not be fit. So it was completely out of the blue when he called me in the office. I just presumed I was going to get another year, so did everyone else. And other players were crying. I wasn't that bothered, because obviously I know I could get something else. But my other teammates were crying when I told them, and it was tough. But after the Wembley game and them being told that, I just felt, for me, I might start thinking about something else now, because I weren't going to replicate the year I just had. So I ended up going part-time at St Albans, which is probably a mistake. Jumped into it as a player-coach's role, but wasn't really right. The club was on a decline. I only stayed there 2 months and ended up at AFC Wimbledon back as a player again, which again, it was a fantastic experience, because a bit like Stevenage, the togetherness of the players, great group of lads, good manager, and ended up getting promoted again. But that was my last real go at it in terms of being at a big club, and after that went down the role of player manager at Tooting and Mitcham. I had 18 months at Tooting, which again, great experience, stood me in good stead for the rest of my coaching, learned a lot from it, which I feel you need to do is progress as a coach. It's one of them that if you think you always know best, then you won't progress. And there was a lot of things that went wrong, there's a lot of things that went right. I had a good crop of young players there with not a lot of budget, but we always performed well. And when I left after 18 months, I then went into the professional game, went to Crawley Town for 2 years as youth team manager. And again, great experience, working on a shoestring budget against some of the best teams in the country, but it was tough. We didn't have a proper training ground. We was going from place to place, and when they disbanded the youth team after 2 years, again, it was another great learning experience for us. After that, I then went Brighton. So I've been there 4 years now, 2 years with the under-15s, and then 2 years as under-18s manager. And I couldn't be any happier at the minute. It's a fantastic club, Premier League obviously, and going in the right place.
Brighton retained their Premier League status this season, second consecutive season they've been in the top division. Could you explain to us what your role is within the club?
My role now is I'm the under-18s manager. I'm joint manager with Mikey Harris, his coach who come from Portsmouth. My role is really the whole aim of the academy is to develop players for the first team. Obviously, we try and get them ready. We set up a little plan of how we do it. I feel we've got one of the best coaching syllabuses in the country, the way we do things. We've got the best facilities, probably second only to maybe Man City and Tottenham. But anyone who comes down to Brighton will be blown away by it. Got a good crop of youngsters as well coming through. Got a few internationals, so it's all going in the right direction. But our job is to get them into the 23s, then from the 23s into the first team. So it's progressively getting better every year. So we had a really good cup run this year in the FA Youth Cup, beat Man United away as well, 3-1. Yeah, finished the highest the club have ever finished in the Premier League, Youth League, winning 9 out of our last 10 games. So it's been a good season, and what we keep asking the boys is every year we set them a target, and the target is to beat the previous season's league table, the goals we scored, the goals conceded, getting in a good cut run, which for them is first time they get exposure in front of crowds, because most Saturday league games are pretty much just parents watching. So and the idea is every year they progress, we progress, and to hopefully get them, see them, might not be Brighton's first team, but in a first team of some sort, playing competitive league football.
What is the philosophy of football that you're trying to get into these youngsters, and what sort of system are you trying to get them to play?
We try and teach them a few different, in terms of formations, a few different formations, but the principles remain the same. Everyone would like to play out from the back, but if it's not on, you've got to have a plan B. So it's not just one way of playing. So we try and teach them different ways. We set up different passing patterns, but again, week in, week out, most teams watch you, so you've got to try and think of different things all the time. So we just want them to play, give 100% every week, play at a good tempo, look to pass the ball, forward thinking. Can you get forward? Can you make space? If you can't get in the ball, can you rotate and move out of areas? So we're always trying to make training match related as well. We do a lot of individual training, unit training. So we try and mix it up, so it's not all team generic stuff. We try and make it as diverse as possible and enjoyable as well. But we do a lot of analysis on opposition, on analysis of our own players. We film a lot of sessions as well, because sometimes when you're doing sessions you think it's great, and then you look back and you think, oh, this wasn't right, that wasn't right. So it helps us as coaches, it helps them as players. So I feel we've got a real good programme at the minute, and as I say, it's improving all the time. We've got to keep changing it, because one, we get bored, or two, the players get bored, so we've got to keep it forward thinking.
The recruitment and resources available at Brighton is obviously extensive. Players coming in and out, and different trialists and players to look at. Is there something as a manager, as an under-18s manager, that you look at crucially at young players?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anyone we do buy in, we all get a look. So it's just not a recruitment team. The recruitment team flag them up. Once they flag them up, then the academy manager will go, then another scout. And probably for us, the last two people who see them will probably be me and Mikey. So that's happened with a few players. There's sometimes when they come in on trial, but that's always tough, because anyone who comes in is nervous, and obviously everyone makes mistakes, because as coaches, when you come in, you want them to sort of blow you away, but you've also got to look past that sometimes. And so we try and look at it, get them in a game, because you can't just watch them training. Some people are not very good in training, but they're great in games. So we've got to look at all different angles and different possibilities. And but the key thing for me is attitude. As long as they're showing good attitude, their work ethic, their desire to want to get better and improve, we always look at that as well. It's not always about the ability.
Fantastic system, fantastic club. What are your goals and hopes for the under-18s team next season?
As I say, we always try to beat what we did the previous season. So this year we finished 5th behind Arsenal, won it, Tottenham 2nd, Chelsea 3rd, Southampton 4th. So we want to break into that top 3. I feel we can with the players we got next year. We've got a good group coming through. But so have Chelsea, Arsenal and Tottenham. So we're always looking to strive to be better. So we just got to work out different ways how we're going to do it. And as I say, our programme is shown progress. And to winning 9 out of 10 games, it's not always about results at this level, it's about producing players, but we have seen improvement in all the players as well. And we just had 3 players go to the European Championships as well, under 17 level, 2 with England, 1 with Ireland. So that shows that that's going well for individuals as well as the team.
Does there come a time as an under-18s manager you're knocking on the first team manager's door and saying, you really should look at this player, or this player's been outstanding this season, maybe he could do with coming into the first team?
We wouldn't go knock on his door. It's normally the other way around. The gaffer, Chris Hewton, would come over to us, and he'll ask who's been doing well, who deserves to come up and train. But for me, the one below, we got Simon Rusk, who's the 23s manager. So to be fair, it's like a little pecking order. If the first team need a player, they normally go to 23s, and then if the first team are taking the 23, then they take the 18s. But there's days, obviously, the 23s ain't in. The gaffer will come over and say, "I need a right back," and give him 2 names, who deserves it, and say him, and he takes them. And he always comes back good feedback. And he said none of the boys have ever come over and let him down. So. Chris was great to work with, and just unfortunate that he's now gone.
What are your long-term aspirations? Do you see yourself eventually, one day opportunity comes along that you could go into the full-on management side?
Listen, I love to. That's if you're not ambitious and want to go as far as you can, then you're in the wrong game. So for me, at the minute, this has been my third season under 18 manager. But I'm not saying I'm always looking, but I would love the opportunity one day to manage a first team. I mean, it's getting harder and harder every year. Like with Brighton being in the Premier League, listen, that's completely out of question. All I could do is do as well as I can here with the 18s and make a good name for myself and keep producing players and teams playing nice style of football, and then just never know what happens. But yeah, I'd love to get into first team management one day.
Can you empathise with the fact that first team managers find it hard sometimes to play younger players when they've only got such a short window to prove themselves successful at a club before results are demanded by chairmen, fans, etc.?
It's tough. It's getting that balance right, and I mean, I feel we've had a couple of players this season that could have possibly stepped up to the first team, but the money involved in the game now, they managers normally go with what they know, and when that's normally experience. But I only look at Gareth Southgate and what he done with England. That's at the top level, and playing the kids. He knew him from 21s. He knew what they do. He knew when to let them down, and all of a sudden it's revitalised English football. And I feel that's just the biggest benchmark for me. If your national team manager could do that, I do believe that if you've got the kids there, and if you don't give them a chance, then you never know. But all the time that they're keeping them on the sidelines or keeping them in the 23s or the 18s, and you just never know. And I bet that with all the foreign players that come over on a lot of money, the youngsters wouldn't do any worse or would do better because they probably care a little bit more. And I think the fans will love that as well. When you've got one of your own out there playing and running about and doing the best they can for your team, I think you should have that in every club.
Mark, I've got to say it's great to get you on the channel. Thank you very much for giving Full Court a bit of your time today. I feel we've covered just a little bit of your career. I'm sure there's plenty more stuff we can go into, but as I said, it's great to spend a bit of time with you.
Cheers, James. Yeah, no, it's been brilliant, mate. And good to see you. Last time I see you was at a boxing event, wasn't it? So yeah, it's nice to talk about football for once. Cheers, James. Thanks, pal.